Hey everybody, welcome back to When Harry Met Board Games, where we feed our people with relatable content, and our victory condition is your satisfaction. I'm Harry, and today we're going to be having another playthrough. Today I'm going to be playing through this game right here, Star Trek Expeditions, a cooperative game by Reiner Knizia and published by WizKids Games. This is a cooperative game for 1 through 4 players, but today in particular I will be playing solo, and this is what the game looks like set up. So first of all, you've got the board here. You've got all of these different captain's log supplemental cards that you're going to shuffle and then randomly place 15 on the 15 different locations of this planet, the planet Nibia. Each player is going to take a character, and there are 4 characters to pick from in the base game. You've got Captain James T. Kirk. You've got Mr. Spock. You've got Nyota Uhura, and you've got Dr. Leonard McCoy, the Chief Medical Officer. Each player takes their player card that indicates their name and their special ability, and also one of these nice Hero Clicks style miniatures. And these Clicks miniatures here have the stats of the different players or different characters here. So you can see 3 different stats, a yellow, a blue, and a red. The yellow corresponds to the command stat. The blue here corresponds to the science stat, and the red corresponds to the operation stat. And those are the 3 different types of missions or challenges that players will be resolving throughout the game by rolling these dice right here and combining it with their player stats and a couple additional cards that are helpful for the accomplishing of those missions and challenges. So each player has their character and different strengths and different weaknesses. Now these click style miniatures have a dial that you'll use to rotate to modify the player's stats based on how many hits they take, and also the occasional going back and healing in order to turn the dial the opposite direction and get back their stats, right? Because with each hit that a character takes, they become weaker, and therefore their stats increase, and their likelihood to successfully accomplish the different missions and challenges decreases drastically. Also, on each of these 15 spots, we're going to take these 15 different artifact tokens, and we're going to shuffle them up and distribute them randomly. We're going to set aside 5 special artifacts right here that you acquire through different ways and through different means. We're going to set them aside here on the board. Right here, we have this special track where we place the Starship Enterprise miniature, and it also is a Clicks miniature with its own stats. On the top, you see the shield stat. That's how much defense it has when it's attacked. Then you have the middle number, which is the ranged attack when it attacks the Klingon battle cruiser at a distance. And then the bottom number is the attack power that it has when it's at close distance, right? When it's adjacent to the Klingon battle cruiser. And the Klingon battle cruiser, nice little mini, also has its own stats, and it's a very powerful ship. Not sure if you can see the numbers from that angle, but yes, it's a very, very powerful ship. And we place the Klingon starting battle cruiser for its starting spot. We place it on this +7 side, and this track goes all the way from -16 to +7. And the way it works is this track right here is not necessarily your score, but it's going to be your multiplier. Whatever score you actually accomplish as a team, because you are trying to win and have an ultimate objective, but you also are trying to perhaps beat your high score from a previous game. Whatever score you end up having in this game, you're going to multiply by wherever the Starship Enterprise finishes on this track. However, if it finishes in the negative, that way, then you lose the game, even if you accomplish the objective, because you fell so back, right? So these ships are going to be approaching each other, and they're going to be engaging in combat, but you want to hold your ground as much as possible, and you also want to make sure that the Starship Enterprise is not destroyed. Each player starts the game on the Starship Enterprise. This little spot right here is reserved for the Starship Enterprise, and throughout the course of the game, you're going to be beaming up and down from the planet and back to the starship. Right here we have the missions board set to the side where we'll increase our score on the different respective missions, on the different tracks, according to the challenges that we meet and accomplish. So there's 3 different missions that we're trying to accomplish. We have the purple, which corresponds with politics. So basically here in the planet Nibia, we are trying to align and form an alliance with them, a political alliance, and we're trying to accomplish that. We've got the rebellion that's going on, which is the yellow mission, and basically we're trying to prevent a civil war. There are some rebels on the planet, some natives, that are trying to rebel against the government, I guess, and ignite a civil war, right? An insurrection of sorts. And then finally, we have the green mission, which is the ecology or energy mission, where we're trying to save the planet's ecosystem. All the meanwhile, we've got the Klingons also orbiting this planet, and we're wondering what they're up to, and we're battling with them as well. So over here, you have the different cards that basically tell you how to resolve the different missions. And each mission is a 3-parter. So for the purple, political, the yellow, rebels, and the green, energy, we are trying to solve 3 different parts before we complete each mission. And once we have completed all 3 parts for all 3 missions, we have won the game, right? Now, as you can see here, this is part 1 of this, but then we have 2A, 2B, 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D. There are varying deviations of these missions based on how much or how well we do when we accomplish these missions. So how you do on part 1 determines whether or not you proceed to 2A or 2B. And then depending on where you do or how well you do with 2A or 2B, depends on whether you move on to 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D, right? And the lower it gets as far as the letters are concerned, the more difficult they'll be, or the less favorable the benefits will be, the more challenging things will be. So each of these different missions are 3-parters. We have them set aside right now. We could see the top part. They are not yet available to us. We need to explore the planet, discover and see where the cards that correspond with the different missions are located in order to accomplish them. We also have this stardate deck right here, which is basically going to tell us how many actions we get on a given turn. It also will advance this stardate track right here because we do not have an infinite amount of time. Once the stardate track makes it all the way to this Klingon symbol here, we have lost the game and the Klingons have taken over, right? So we don't have an infinite amount of time. So there are 2 ways you could lose this game. It's, well, 3 ways theoretically. If the Klingon ship destroys the starship Enterprise, that's 1 way. If the stardate track makes it all the way to the bottom, or if at the end of the game, the starship Enterprise is in the negative. So this will tell us how many actions we have, whether or not we advance the stardate, other different events that happen, including the attacks from the Klingon ships, right? So we're going to shuffle this. I just wanted to point out, in a solo game, you do have to control multiple characters because this game is impossible to win with just 1 character. I'm only going to be playing with 2 characters because I do not want to have too much maintenance, too much upkeep. But because of that, I will be playing on easy mode. There are 3 levels of difficulty in this game: easy, intermediate, and hard. And I have chosen to play on easy to make up for the fact that I have a few less characters. We also have an energized deck, which are basically different action cards and some crew or character cards that are very, very helpful. The crew cards are placed down in your tableau and you have them permanently available to you for the rest of the game. The action cards are cards that you discard for a one-time ability whenever it is your turn. So at the beginning of the game, we shuffle this deck and we give each player 2 cards. As always, if you have any crew cards, you immediately place them down in your player area to know that they're available for you. So I don't have any crew cards with Captain Kirk, but I do, no crew cards with Spock either. Also, these cards are not public knowledge, even though it is a cooperative game. You can tell your opponents, or your teammates, I should say, what cards you have, but you cannot show them. So it's up to your teammates to kind of remember what you've got going. So let me just describe some of these action cards. I have leadership, which gives me a +2 to 1 challenge or die roll. So whenever I roll a die, I could throw this card in to add 2. That could be very helpful. I also have this USS Enterprise surprise attack. The Enterprise gains +2 to all weapons for one battle. It may be played from any location, because typically to do battle with the Starship Enterprise, you need to be in the Starship Enterprise. And those are our starting cards. Also, let me read our special player powers. Captain Kirk here has a special power. He gets to transfer one crew between you and any other player. So I don't necessarily need to be sharing any space with any player. I could just send you my crew cards. There are ways of exchanging different things, including these artifact tokens and the crew cards, if you share the same space with your teammates. But Captain Kirk gets to do that once per turn if he wants to, with anybody he wants to, right? So there is that. Then we have Mr. Spock. His special power is look at the face down card in any one location, then return the card face down. So that is an interesting power. That way you don't waste your time exploring. If you want to conserve actions, you get to just look and see what's underneath a certain space. Okay, so now we're going to proceed to the actual game. I'm going to start the game with Captain Kirk's turn. So the first thing we do, let's shuffle up the Stardate deck. We draw the Stardate card and we see it. So we see three colors here, the blue, the yellow, and the red. When you're playing easy mode, you only pay attention to the blue. If you're playing intermediate, you pay attention to the blue and the yellow. And finally, if you're playing difficult, you pay attention to the blue, the yellow, and the red. So again, I'm only playing easy, so I'm only going to regard the blue section here, which has two Stardate symbols. So I need to advance the Stardate track by 2. And it tells me that I have 4 actions this turn. And we have these nice little player aids here that tell you all the different possible actions you have. And of course, you have your special action as a character. And it also specifies which actions can be taken from Starship Enterprise, which actions can be taken from the planet, and the actions that can be taken from any location. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose to attack with the Enterprise, because I want to start gaining some ground on this track before the Klingon ship sends me back. And the way it works is, so that's one action, you advance the Starship Enterprise by 1 spot, and then you proceed to the battle phase. And what happens is you roll 1 of these dice here, and you're going to add it to your ship's total, right? So I'm going to roll this dice right here, and I rolled a 1. What a terrible outing. And according to the stats here, the Starship Enterprise has a value of 7 attack when it's doing ranged attack. So I would add that 7 to the 8, compare it to the shields of the Klingons, which are at 13. So that's not going to happen. That's not even going to touch them. It's not even going to phase them. So we compare that, and if I would have had a higher amount, I would have been able to deal damage to the Klingon ship. All right, so now we are going to proceed to the Klingons battle. The Klingons get to fight back. Every time there's an attack, it doesn't matter who initiates it, both parties have an opportunity to fight back. So we will roll this dice, and of course I had to roll a 6. So I will add the 6 to the Klingons' ranged attack, which is actually a 6 itself. So 6 plus 6 equals 12. And the Enterprise's shields right now are at 9. So I will deal 1 damage, because I took a hit, I'll deal 1 damage to the Enterprise by rotating this dial on the Clicks miniature. And now the Enterprise is a little bit weaker and its stats are decreased. So that was the first action of my turn. I have 3 more actions to go, and I'm going to beam down to the planet. Now, when it comes to beaming, that's a very important one. Beaming is the only action, I believe, that you can only do once per turn. So you cannot beam up and beam down on the same turn. So you can't take advantage of that, because beaming is a very efficient way of getting to different parts of the planet. So I'm actually going to beam all the way down to this corner over here. And that's my second action. And every time you enter a new region within Nibia, you immediately, for the first time, you immediately flip over this Captain's Log supplemental card and see what's underneath. And in this case, we have the energy mission. So we replace this card with the current energy mission, which is energy mission 1, and we place it right here. Let's just read what this says. Nibian power generator. It says a crystalline element which regulates energy production is rapidly degrading, leading to planet-wide energy shortages. So we need to analyze the crystalline element, which means we need 19 science. We need to have a roll of 19 science combined with our modifiers. And as you can see, Captain Kirk is only a 7 in science. It's actually his weakest stat. So he is not the guy to accomplish this mission. So that was my second action, beaming down. For my third action, I'm going to grab this Klingon evidence right here and add it to my player area. So that's a nice and neat artifact that can help me with certain missions, and also if I ever want to discard it in order to raise the shields of the Enterprise by 2, I could do so on one of my turns. Now, this right here, let me just show you the bottom of the card here. It shows you the 2 possible paths. If I can roll a 24, even though I only need a 19 to accomplish the mission, if I could roll a 24, that is the best I could do. You determine the element is dilithium, but know a sample from the mine is needed for further analysis. And it will give you a little bit more points, and it'll lead you to the energy 2A mission, which is a little bit more favorable. But if I only roll a 19 to a 23, then I get energy 2B. You determine the element is impure, dilithium, but need to do more research at the processing center. So you always have those 2 possible outcomes, the better one and the lesser one. So I still have one more action left. And with that action, I'm going to draw a card from the energized deck. And it is another action card, Tactical Advantage, which is going to help me whenever I want to use it for any command or yellow challenges. And Captain Kirk is done with his turn. We're going to move on to Mr. Spock's turn. The first thing we're going to do on the turn is draw one of these stardate cards. And it tells us that Captain Spock or Mr. Spock will have 4 actions this turn, but the Klingon battlecruiser will attack. So with the Klingon battlecruiser, when it attacks, very similarly to the Starship Enterprise, it advances 1 spot, and then you roll the die for the Klingon battlecruiser burst. And again, we roll a 6, which when you add to the stat of 12, is higher than the Starship Enterprise's current shield levels, which are at 9. So I will rotate this one. Unfortunately so. But now I get to fight back as the Starship Enterprise. I roll a die right here, and I rolled a 4. And if you add the 4 to the ranged attack of the Starship Enterprise, that is a 6. Which, well, it is a 6. A 6 plus a 4 is a 10. The shields of the Klingon ship right now are at 13. So none of these help me with attack. So unfortunately, we will not deal any damage to the Klingon battlecruiser. Now we will proceed to Spock's turn. Again, he has 4 actions. He's going to choose to do a starship attack. Because again, we want to make a little bit of progress on this track before the Klingon battlecruiser gets too close and starts pushing us back into the negative. So now we will roll first for attack. And I rolled a 1 yet again. Terrible, folks. Terrible. That will not scratch the Klingon battlecruiser, but the Klingon battlecruiser will attack us back. And they rolled a 5. I'm rolling really high for them. That's amazing. The 5 plus a 6 is 11. Our shields are currently at 8. So we will take a hit. And we go down 1. Okay. So that was the first action with Spock. I still have 3 more actions. You could play these action cards as many as you want, and they don't cost any actions. Drawing an action card is an action, but playing them is not. I'm going to play this USS Enterprise Repair card, which allows me, if I'm on the Enterprise, which I happen to be, to repair the Enterprise by 1 clicks, right? So these are one of the few opportunities you get to repair the Enterprise. So I'm going to repair. I'm going to turn the dial the opposite direction so that the Starship Enterprise is a little bit stronger. Okay, so that was not an action. So I only spent 1 action so far, and I have 3 more. I am going to beam down with Mr. Spock. And since Captain Kirk is over here, I might take another area, even though this analysis would be very, very helpful for me because Mr. Spock has the analysis keyword. And every time one of the keywords show up on a mission, for each of those keywords that you have available to you on your player area, you add an additional 2 to your stat. Also, because this is a science mission and Mr. Spock's stat is 11, he has a really good chance of solving this mission. So I'm going to beam down actually where Captain Kirk is right here. And I am going to, so that was my second action. I'm going to proceed to try to solve the challenge. But I think I might draw a card first. I think a card will be very, very helpful. All right, so I'm going to draw a energized card because I have 2 more actions. I moved, I attacked the Starship Enterprise, I beamed down here. I'm going to draw a card. And it's a crew member, and it happens to be a blue or science crew member, so that's very, very helpful. Okay, so that was my third action, and with my fourth action, I am going to try to resolve this mission here. So the way it works is you roll 2 of these white dice now, and I'm going to add them to my stats and any other modifiers. So I rolled a 4 and a 1. That is a total of 5. I have Mr. Spock's science stat is an 11. So 11 plus 5 equals 16. However, because Mr. Spock has the keyword analysis, I will add another 2 to that 16 to make it 18. If I had any dilithium samples, I would be able to add 2 for each dilithium sample as well, because that keyword is right here. However, I don't have any. But I do have this planetary scientist, which gives me 2 more for any science mission or challenge I'm trying to accomplish. So I was already at 18. 2 more will bring me up to 20. And also, I get an additional 2 for any teammate that's in the same space as me. And I do have 1 teammate there with me, Captain Kirk. So that brings me up to a total of 22. I'm going to play this action card right here, the computer uplink, to add 3 to any science challenge. I have to discard it. I was at 22. That 3 will bring me all the way up to 25, which is the amount or higher than the amount that I needed for the best possible outcome, the 24 plus. You determine the element is dilithium, but no sample from the mine is needed for further analysis. So first of all, I'm going to score, I've accomplished this, I'm going to score 3 points on the green or energy track. I'm going to remove this, and we know that the next mission for energy will be the 2A, not the 2B. However, we do not know necessarily where that mission is. We still have lots more planet to discover. But that's a very good start to our turn. All right, so we are done with Mr. Spock's turn. That was very, very excellent turn. And now we will move on to Captain Kirk's turn. Again, we will draw one of these cards. Captain Kirk will have 3 actions this turn. You will advance stardate by 1. And there's a special action. It says, if you are alone in your location, lose 2 clicks. However, luckily for us, Captain Kirk is not alone, so he will not lose 2 clicks. So I have 4 actions to take part of. I'm going to move around and try to explore more of the planet. So first of all, I'm going to go over here. I have 3 actions this turn. And again, because I entered this, I immediately reveal this. Oh, this is the politics. So politics 1 is going to be right here. Very, very interesting. Okay, for my second action, I am going to grab this Klingon evidence, because I already have 1 Klingon evidence artifact. Now I have a second Klingon evidence. And that's actually very helpful for this particular mission right here, the Politics 1. It says, Presidential Palace. The Nibian government is suddenly reluctant to join the Federation, despite the technological and trade assistance the Federation is offering. Discover why Knizia has changed its stance on joining the Federation. I would need to roll a 20 in command for this mission. Now, it says here on the top part of this one that if I get a 20 or higher, but with 2 Klingon evidence, then I resolve it at its best possible outcome. And guess what? I just picked up my second Klingon evidence for my second action of the turn. I'm Captain Kirk, who happens to be good at the command challenges and has the diplomacy keyword, which is a keyword here for this mission. So I have one more action left. I want to think through if I actually want to use it to meet the challenge. So Captain Kirk has a command stat of 10, which is pretty good. And he also has the diplomacy keyword, which will give him an additional 2. That's 12. But I would still need to roll an 8 or higher to accomplish the mission. And I don't feel quite confident with that yet. Oh no, I have some special cards. You know what? I'm going to do this. I am going to do this. Let's do this. I'm going to roll and try to accomplish this mission. And I rolled a 5, which is actually pretty close. So I add my stat here, my base stat of 10 command, plus I rolled a 5, that makes it 15. I add all diplomacy keywords in my player area, which I have 1, and that's going to give me 2 more points, which brings me up to 17. And I will throw in this action card, Tactical Advantage, which gives me +3 to any command challenge, which brings me from 17 to 20. And because I have the 2 Klingon evidence, I don't have to turn them in. I don't have to discard them because I have them in my possession. I resolve this at its best possible outcome. It says, you discover that the Klingon Empire is pressuring the Nibian government to reject the Federation. So I'm on to them. And I will advance myself in the political or purple track by 3 points. And now the next mission, the next part of this mission will be 2A, not 2B. So we know that. So we're off to a pretty good start on these missions. We've got the best possible outcomes for 2 out of 3 of them so far. Now it's just a matter of resolving the third one. Okay, so I'm done with Captain Kirk's turn. Now we will proceed to Mr. Spock's turn, and we have this stardate card here. He's going to get 3 actions. We're going to advance the stardate track by 1. And it says you must discard 1 crew or lose 2 clicks. And these crews are very, very helpful. So you know what? I'm going to make the sacrifice here and lose 2 clicks. There we go. So Spock has 3 actions with his turn. He's going to move over here with 1 action. He's going to automatically reveal this, and we have the energy mission, which we're at 2A right now. It will be located here, and this is a operations challenge, which is why it's helpful to have a diverse group of teammates to work. However, it does require the engineering keyword, which Spock happens to have, right? So there is that. All right, so Spock has taken 1 action by moving here. With a second action, I'm just going to grab this artifact while I'm at it. I'm sure it'll be helpful for accomplishing different challenges, but also I could discard it to gain 2 additional actions for the character on the turn that I discarded it on. So that's pretty good. So that's 2 out of my 3 actions. And with my third action, I'm going to beam up back to the Starship Enterprise. All right, so we're done with Spock's 3 actions. We will proceed to Captain Kirk's, and we'll flip over the Stardate card, and I'll have 3 actions, but unfortunately for me, the Klingon battlecruiser is going to do some attacking. So they move up 1 spot, and we roll this die right here, and they rolled a 5, and their ranged attack again is 6, plus 5 is 11. Our shields are still at 8, so we will take a hit. All right, but we get the opportunity to fight back. And let's see what we can do here. We rolled a 4. And right now our ranged attack is at 6. So 6 plus 4 equals 10. Again, the Klingon shields is at 13. I have this card right here. Well, I could play these to add 2 to 1 challenge or die roll and to gain 2 to all weapons for 1 battle. I'm going to actually play both of these action cards. So one of them is going to add 2 to any die roll. So I'm going to turn that 4 I rolled into a 6. And 6 plus our ranged stat is 6. That equals 12. Then I'm going to play this surprise attack. The Enterprise gains 2 to all weapons for 1 battle. So that's going to make it go up by an additional 2, which will bring it up to 14, which will be enough to do some damage to this battleship cruiser because we need to hurt it. All right, so we've lowered it a little bit, the Klingon battle cruiser, and we are done. Okay, so now Captain Kirk has 3 actions to take. Let's see what he wants to do. I think I'm going to continue exploring. I'm going to leave this for Mr. Spock here. I think I'm going to go over here. That's 1 action. We immediately reveal this. And there's a challenge here. And these challenges are not necessarily related to the mission, but they're additional challenges to unlock different benefits, perhaps even some artifacts, and increase your score in the different respective tracks. So here we see Nibian leprosy. You contract a contagious disease. Isolate the disease until a cure can be found. Oh no. It says you may not leave this space until successfully completed. At the end of each of your turns, you lose 2 clicks. So you really want to resolve this. Oh man, I can't even leave now. So that was 1 action. Medical, this would be great for Dr. Leonard McCoy, even for Spock, who has good science stats. But for me, this is going to be quite the challenge. Oh my goodness, folks. So I could get this, so I could add 2 to any of my rolls, but I would still need to roll really, really high. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to grab this minister here, and that's my 2nd action. For my 3rd and final action, I'm going to try to solve this mission. I have to, because I cannot leave until I do. My science stat for Captain Kirk is only a 7. That's pretty meager. So I'm going to need a pretty good roll right here. And I don't have any more action cards to use for this turn. And I rolled a 6, which isn't terrible, but I desperately need it better. So if you add my 6 to my 7, that would be 13. Even if I discarded this, this would not be helpful. So I will fail. And that was my 3rd and final action. And at the end of each of my turns, I have to take 2 damage to my clicks here. So that is painful. And now we will proceed to Mr. Spock's next turn. And we draw the stardate card. And this is an uneventful card. That's always a relief. However, there's only going to be 2 actions on this turn. So the first thing Mr. Spock is going to do, he's not going to attack. I feel like we're advanced enough. But what he might do here is he's going to try to heal at sickbay. That's one of the actions you could take. You have to be in the Starship Enterprise to heal at sickbay. And what you do is you roll 1 of these white Federation die. And the amount that you roll equals how many clicks you get to heal. And in this case, I rolled a 7 minus 1. And I'll explain the 7 shortly. So obviously, I've only taken 2 damage, so I'm not going to be able to capitalize on the full 7, but I'll capitalize on the 2 that I had lost. And this minus 1 here means that after you've resolved that 7, you have to lower your hero clicks dial by 1. So that's really, really painful. Pardon me. Really, really painful because I held myself a little bit, but I lost it right back. Okay, so that was my first action. I still have 1 more action for this turn. I think I might want to heal at sickbay again because I want to, well, my science stat is pretty good. So let me see, is my operation stat? No, my operation stat is pretty much the same. I think I'm actually going to beam down to this location over here to eventually resolve this mission challenge. All right, so Mr. Spock is done with his turn, his 2 actions. Now, Captain Kirk will go again. He's going to get 4 actions this turn. We're going to advance the stardate by 2, however. Okay, so let us see what we will do. So Captain Kirk really needs to resolve this. I have 4 actions, which is great. I'm going to try to draw some energized cards. All right, so this is a crew member card. Immediately they get placed in your player area. Unfortunately for me, that's not going to help with this science mission, but it's something for the future. I'm going to draw another card. Ooh, this is a pretty good action card. I get to gain 3 additional actions for this character. I might just use it this turn. I'm going to draw one more card here. Woof, it's another command card for whatever that's worth. And I have 1 action left. I do not want to take more damage with my hero clicks. So I'm actually going to play this command and authority card to give me 3 additional actions. Playing an action card is not an action. So I still had 1 action left. Now I will have 4 actions left, which I will use 1 to draw another card. Again, command authority. I will play another one to draw another card. After rolling the dice, place this card to ignore the result and re-roll. That's actually pretty good. I still have 2 more actions left. I will draw yet another card and yet another command-oriented crew member. And I have 1 action left. I'm going to play this command and authority card again. I have another copy to get an additional 3 actions. So instead of having 1 left, I will have 4 yet again. And I'll draw a card, and I'm getting another, oh my gosh, I'm getting all these officers that are irrelevant to the current mission. Okay, still have 3 actions left. All right, here's a good one. Leadership, where I get to +2 to 1 challenge or 1 reroll. Okay, I still have 2 more actions left. I will draw another card. Okay, this will be good for, I'm set for any command challenges in the future. And I have 1 action left, which I'm going to use to try to solve this challenge right here. So I'm going to roll 2 dice right here. And I rolled a 6 yet again. I'm going to play this card right here, Starfleet Training. After rolling the dice, place this card to ignore the results of 1 die. To ignore the results and re-roll. Do I want to do that? Yeah, I'm doing that. I'm re-rolling this. I'm hoping for something better than a 6. And I got a 9. That's awesome, guys. So we will add that 9 to my science stat, which is at 6. So 9 plus 6 equals 15. Oh, no. +2 to 1 challenge or die roll. That is not going to work. Even with an additional 2, I will fall short by 1. I'll be at 17. That is painful, folks. Are you kidding me? Oh, and I spent that card to re-roll. 6 plus 9 is 15, plus 2 is 17. I am not going to be able to do this, guys. And my hero, at the end of the turn, will take another 2 clicks damage. So I am even weaker in the blue. I'm going to need some help. So Spock is going to have to come and help me. So let's see what Spock's going to do. He has 4 actions, and the Klingon battlecruiser will attack. So they're going to roll the die here, and it's a 4. And a 4 plus their current range stat of 6 is a 10, which is enough to defeat the starship's shields of 8. We'll take 1 clicks of damage. But now the starship will fight back. And we rolled a 2, which, let's be real, is not going to do nothing to the Klingons. Okay, so now Spock has 4 actions. We could try to resolve this right now. But right now, Captain Kirk is in desperate need of help. So Spock is going to go 1, 2. With his 3rd action, he's going to draw a crew card right here, or an energized card, which happens to be a crew card. And now with his 4th action, he's going to try to resolve this, which should be a lot easier for Spock. He's got 11 science. He also has this planetary scientist officer, which will add to his role. Worst case scenario, he also has this artifact. So Spock is going to try to resolve this challenge. He also cannot move. That's the bad part. He's stuck here unless he succeeds. And I rolled a 9 because I rolled this 7. But again, every time you roll that 7, your character takes 1 click right there. So I rolled a 9 plus the current stat, which was 11. That is a 20, which is more than high enough without any other modifiers to accomplish this. But let's see what modifiers I did have. I had 9 plus 11 is 20. I have 1 teammate, which brings it to 22. And I have this officer, which adds 2 more, which brings it to 24. So I accomplished the top level here. It says the treatment cures the disease and rejuvenates you. All characters in this location are healed to their starting clicks. Thank goodness. Okay, so at least the damage done is forgotten about, and we are all healed to our maximum level. All right. And Mr. Spock is done with his turn. Now we will move on to Captain Kirk's next turn. And we have here 3 actions, and the Klingon battlecruiser will attack. So again, they move 1. Now they are adjacent to us. Whenever the Klingon battlecruiser is adjacent to the Starship Enterprise, the Starship Enterprise has the choice to retreat 1 space back. And what's the advantage of that? The advantage of that is that every ship's close ranged attack stat is a little bit higher than their distance attack. Also, the close range attacks quite often for the different ships have these little surge abilities where they have the potential, if they roll high enough, to cause 2 clicks worth of damage instead of 1. So you want to try to avoid being too close to the Klingon battlecruiser. So I retreated back 1. Now the Klingon battlecruiser will attack, but at a range. And they rolled a 5, which is more than high enough to cause the damage and suffer 1 clicks to the Starship Enterprise. And we are halfway done, guys, with the Starship's life. So unless we do some actions to regain some life, we are in big trouble. But now the Starship Enterprise will fight back. We'll roll this die, and I rolled a 1. I'm rolling terrible. I'm rolling 5s and 6s for the Klingons, and I'm rolling 1s and 2s for the Starship Enterprise. Sorry, guys. All right, so now we will proceed. Captain Kirk has 3 actions. Let's see what we want to do with those 3 actions. You know what? I think I'm going to explore. Let's go over here and see what's here. All right, we have these. This mission here, it's not directly related to the mission. It's just a different challenge. The artifacts. Nibian culture is rich in ancient artifacts. Learn more about Nibia's culture by studying artifacts. This is a science mission. It's helpful if you have transportation or artifacts, which guess what? Spock happens to have. So I'm just going to bypass this and leave it for Spock. I'm going to move over here. Let me start moving northward. I'm going to move over here. And this is another mission. That was my second action. And this is, again, not directly related to the mission, but it can help you with the score. Festival of Unity. You are the guest of honor at this year's festival. You have the opportunity to meet Nibia's most important dignitaries. Gain allies and advance the Federation's cause. This is a command challenge, which was helpful for me. However, analysis and communications are keywords that I do not have. But I do have lots of command crew officers who will help me with that. So I'm actually going to use my 3rd action to try to complete this challenge right here. Captain Kirk is at full health, so his command stat is at 10. We're going to roll these dice right here. And I rolled 2 7s, which means I definitely got this. Unfortunately, it also means that my character is going to suffer 2 clicks, right? Because each of those 7s make you suffer 1 clicks. And I solved this at its maximum capacity of 23 or higher. You befriend several ministers. All 3 score tracks, you advance them +1. And you draw 3 energized cards. So that's actually very, very helpful. All right, so I got 3 really good cards, and they're all for the USS Enterprise. Oof, I could boost their shields and I could repair them, but I need to be on the ship to do that. Okay, and I am done with Captain Kirk's turn. And this is pretty much how the game plays out. We will continue doing this until we, little by little, accomplish each of the different missions and their second and tertiary levels. Again, there's diverse paths that the game could take depending on how successful you are in these missions. And finally, at the end of the game, you will see where you are on the 3 respective tracks. That is, if you win the game. You will multiply it by whatever space you are on with your Starship Enterprise. That is, if your Starship Enterprise survives this confrontation or this conflict with the Klingon battlecruiser. And that's pretty much it. That's the game. You work together, guys. You exchange cards, exchange artifacts. You exchange crew members. You try to send people to the most appropriate spaces. Know when to be close. Know when to split apart. Typical co-op game. Very well designed. Very immersive. Thematically speaking, if you like Star Trek, the franchise, as an intellectual property, there's a good chance you'll like this game. And that's it for today, folks. From When Harry Met Board Games, I'm Harry saying take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have fun gaming. Bye-bye.